Hopefully you're going to pick up lots of little nuggets to take away to make your pitch more engaging. So we're going to go through a number of things that you can consider when preparing your pitch for our judges. And really we need to start at the beginning. It's all about your idea. What is your idea? And that's the thing that you're going to need to communicate very clearly and very concisely to the room, and more importantly to our panel of judges. They need to understand exactly what your idea is and the problem it solves. We all know that an idea is just an idea until action takes place. It doesn't become a reality. It's not real. But at this stage, you're taking something that you've come up with and you're going to develop that and hopefully get it into a position that when you are in front of our judges that you could confidently talk through what your idea is. Possibly for some of you have a mock-up or a way of demonstrating or showing your idea, maybe using slides, which we'll talk about very shortly, using imagery, maybe turning it into context as in wording, or maybe having something physically that you could hand around, pass around and show. So if you've got something that is tangible and you can make a mock-up, that's great because then people can physically see it in 3D. They can touch it, maybe they can smell it, you know, let's say it could be food, they can even possibly taste it. Probably avoid the tasting bit. I think judges might be a little bit wary if you ask them to taste something, so probably avoid that, but it could be considered. So what we need to do is really think about what your idea is and where you're going to start it. Now, you are limited to time, and this is something to take into consideration when you're doing your planning, preparation and practice, when you're taking your idea and thinking, how am I going to convey this idea to the judges? You do have a time limit, and that time limit is a maximum, and I put a caveat on maximum of 10 minutes. It doesn't mean you need to use the whole 10 minutes, but it definitely means you must not overrun that 10 minutes at all, not even by a second. We would rather you finish much under that time limit that's been allocated than get to the point that you haven't finished. Because what we will do, we are going to be tough, and the judges will also be tough. We will basically stop you at that particular point. So if you get to 10 minutes and you've still got more to go, you won't be allowed to continue. And I know it sounds harsh, but we'll be on a very tight timeline. So please make sure when you are rehearsing, you're practicing, whether it's individually or in teams, we'll talk about that shortly as well, that you do make sure that you are under that 10 minutes. I know I'm kind of really labouring that point, but it's really important, because what's important is if you overrun, then everything goes out of sync, and possibly someone further on down the line is going to feel the pain because you took, dare I use the words, stole their time. So do finish on time, really, really important. Which means you're practicing, you need to make sure you work within times. Now, when you are practicing, and even if you get it to 9 minutes and 57 seconds, there's a good chance that when you do it for real, it will go over that 10 minutes. So my word of advice is, you've got 10 minutes, but probably aim for 9. The reason is it's easier to add a few extra words if you want to get closer to that 10 minutes. It's a lot harder to take stuff away. If you've got in your head, this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about, and you kind of planned it all out, but then you can see the counter, the clock ticking down. What we will do, we'll have a clock there that will be visible by you as well as the judges, and then you're going to have to try and rush and squeeze it all in, which is not going to work. So be very, very conscious of that time. So I'm not going to go through any particular order here, but I'm going to just jump around a little bit, all very relevant. What do I wear? People say to me, David, when I go along to pitch my idea to a panel of judges, what should I be wearing? Well, for me, it's what you feel comfortable in. But at the same time, it's what's going to really kind of help sell your idea. So I'm not suggesting, by the way, you're suited and booted. It's not a job interview. But at the same time, you don't want to turn up in your tracksuit bottoms or your shorts and your singlet T-shirt or something like that. But, of course, if you were doing something to do related to sports, then you could turn up in your running shorts and your trainers because it could fit. So again, you need to think about your idea and how and what you wear will kind of really kind of get your message across. It's going to add value. In some cases, it might just be casual, smart wear. You know, let you choose, but make sure it's comfortable. So you're going to be standing up there talking. Make sure you don't look too rigid because you can't move around and stuff like that. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure it sets a good impression. I always say be the best dressed person in the room, but that's subjective and it's very, it's just my opinion. But I always think if you're standing in front of an audience and you're presenting, you want to look the part as well. Remember to be authentic. When you stand up there, be you. That's really important when you're trying to convey your idea and how you come up with the idea, which we'll talk about as well. Be you. Don't be something you're not. So don't try to put on something. Don't try to make it all up. Just be you. Any things don't go to plan, which in some cases they might be a little bit obscure and stuff like that. You might forget what you're going to say. Your notes might be kind of on the other side of the room or something like that. Don't panic. We are all human. And we all make errors at times, and that could happen to you on this occasion. But just be authentic, be you, and get across your message in that authentic way as well. So a couple of little things in here to kind of feed in, really. I talked about your idea. When you're standing up, the best way to start off your presentation, your pitch, is to start with a bang for your buck, a big, bold opening. What the judges are not going to want is for you to stand up and be kind of very quiet and shy. We need to hear you firstly, so it's quite important that you speak with don't shout, of course, but with a reasonably good raised voice. So I don't know what with the setup if we're going to be using microphones. Probably not, because we're not going to have like a huge auditorium, and you'll be reasonably close to the judges. For that reason, we won't use microphones. It makes adding something else to the complexity of a microphone, whether it's a stick mic or a head mic, just adds a little bit more pressure. We don't want to put you under pressure. What we do want you to do is enjoy it. So what we were asking you to do is, when you come up and start off, is to firstly just introduce yourself. This won't be part of your time. So it'd be, for example, like I come up to the judge and say, hello, I'm David Bell, and my idea is X, Y, Z. Okay, simple as that. That's not part of your time. It is just so we can make sure we've got the right person standing up first, and most importantly. At that point, you'll be told, in your own time, you can begin. Now, what makes a good pitch is a good opening, a good, powerful opening. Now, up to you how you start it, but I probably wouldn't start off by just waffling. I would start off with something impactful, something powerful, something that's going to engage your judges immediately. So what are those ways? Well, I like using a startling fact. Something that's going to blow the socks off of them, make them listen and tune in. So a startling fact could be, and I'm going to make this up by the way, but it could be something along the lines of, did you know there's over 50 million businesses in the world and only 10 of them have survived? It could be anything that's going to capture them from the outset. So a startling fact is going to capture their imagination, get them to tune in. But remember, your voice has pitch, pace and power as well. So use that to your advantage. That's why we don't want to be too softly spoken. We want to use the power of our voice, certainly at the beginning, to get them going and engage. You could, so startling fact, you could just use a fact, okay, from maybe the research about your product, maybe about the market, anything that's going to get them to tune in and listen. You could start with a quotation. Maybe it could be a quote from yourself, or maybe a relevant quote to the product or service that you're about to pitch. So it could be in the tech world or something like that. If you are maybe pitching an app or something similar, you could have a quote from the late Steve Jobs and maybe quote something that he said. So using quotations are quite good in some cases as well. Again, it gets your audience, but your judges, to tune in and listen. You could use a story. You could start with a story. Everyone loves a good story. They're very engaging. Again, people like to listen to find out where that story is leading. But of course, make sure the story is relevant to your product or your service and what it is that you're talking about. There's other methods. You could use audio and you could use a short intro video as well, because you will have the ability, for those that wish to use something like PowerPoint or Prezi or Keynote or another presentation tool. So you could actually have a preloaded video. I wouldn't probably, and again, it's just a recommendation, have a slide that's just got your name on it and your team image and your team name. You could bring that up maybe towards the end, but that's not going to really wow your judges at the beginning. You could have an image of your product or service or mock-up. That could be there alongside maybe your starting fact or your introduction. So think about how you're going to start off and kick off your pitch. It's the most important part. They do say you've got 8 seconds to captivate somebody and you're standing in front of them. So walking up, how you walk up to the spot. I won't use the word stage, that makes it sound big and grand. But how you walk up to the space that you're going to present from, how you're dressed and how you start are going to be judged very, very early on. We all know we should judge a book by its cover, but that is the initial impression that we do see, or the judges will see. So once you kick off and start with your opening, what we need to know very quickly is what your idea is. What problem does it solve? Every business solves a problem. Every idea fixes and provides a solution to a problem. What we need to know is what that problem is, or what the judges need to know is what that problem is. So do think about how you're going to open and introduce us to your solution, your idea as quickly as possible. If you are working in a team, you might want to structure it in such a way. So if you're in a team of 3, I'm using the 3 as an example, it might not be all of you need to present. Don't feel this is like an assignment where you have to come up and all 3 of you must say a few words. That's not necessarily the case. It might be that you put the best presenter forwards, the best communicator, the one that can tell the stories the best, the one that can engage from the outset the best. So maybe choose your best presenter. But of course, if you all want a slice of the cake, then you need to maybe organise who's going to say what when. So maybe who's going to open. And once you open, how are you going to introduce your other 2 team members? So I might open with starting facts, introducing myself, and then introduce you to my 2 team, my CFO, my CTO, or whatever that might look like, if they do have particular roles, or what role they play within the idea. And then who's going to carry on from there? Now, you could structure it, if there is 3 in a team, one does the beginning, one does the middle, and one does the end. Sounds very obvious, it's an easy way to do it, but you could mix that up accordingly. I have seen some very creative pitches where people have been involved. You don't all have to stand there all together on the stage or in the limelight together. You know, one could walk on. I've seen scenarios where one's been on the stage and kind of through a tiny like role play idea, they've introduced the other person. So you could really kind of make it your own. It's up to you how you control that 10 minutes. The more exciting it is, the more appealing it is, the more likely that it's going to be listened to, understood, and your message gets clearly conveyed as well. So if there's more than one in the team, who does what and how and when are they going to be introduced? Now let's talk a little bit about slides. If you are going to be using slides, less is more. You do not need to use slides. I would say that if you don't need them, don't use them. They can be a hindrance as much as they can be an advantage. Having them there could be good to show off a mock-up or a photo, or maybe a couple of stats that you want to put up on the screen to really highlight the problem that you're solving. But if you've got heavy slides with lots of text, too much imagery, and we'll talk about what else is on the slides in a minute, that could be a hindrance. And the problem is the slides take over from you. And let's be honest, the judges want to hear you as the presenter, as the ideas solution provider, not what the slides say. I'd rather, I'll be honest, hear the person talking than seeing the slides. Now you've got 10 minutes. That doesn't mean you can have 30 slides. It will not work. My advice to you, probably, and I don't think we've set any rules on this, but if I was to create a rule, how many slides you could have, I'd say no more than 5. 5 absolute maximum would be my preference, but there's no rules. It's your pitch. It's entirely up to you. But I would say no more than 5. If you don't need them, don't have them at all. If you think about Dragon's Den, when they stand up and do their pitch, they don't use slides. Occasionally they might have a screen there, they might show something, an image or a picture, but they use other props. You could print something out and pick it up and hold it up and show everybody. So there's different ways of being able to show something off. You could use a flip chart if that's going to aid you. But again, don't use it unless it's going to benefit. What we want is hear you talk about your idea. So if you're going to use the slides, great, fantastic. Keep them minimalised, keep them clean. Try not to use stationery and stuff like that. These slides where you can download it, it's got swirls and all sorts of things over it. That's just, again, it's going to be off-putting to the viewer and the listener. Make sure they're just clean, they're tidy. Everything in threes. 3 fonts, so that's 3 kind of styles. 3 sizes, 3 colours. That will work well. Don't mix it up. We don't want rainbows on there, okay, with lots of different colours. We don't want all different shapes and sizes and different styles. Just keep it very clean. The cleaner it is, the easier it is to read, the easier it is to understand, especially if they're listening to you and trying to view the slide as well. Do remember, if you are going to use slides, back them up. If you're going to bring your own laptop along on the day, we will make sure we can obviously use your own equipment. There's no need, if you don't have your own equipment, obviously there is the IT equipment available to you, but you'll need to bring your slides along. I'd bring on a USB stick, okay? I would probably back them up into a OneDrive cloud or some other way. Maybe have 2 USB sticks. I know it sounds crazy, but I have seen people turn up to do their presentation and they've gone, I've lost it. And now they're on their back foot immediately. So make sure that you can access it. Good idea, put it in the cloud, because the worst case scenario, you can log on somewhere and re-download those slides. We won't ask you to email them in advance, because that then just gets a little bit more higgledy-piggledy. You might want to bring your own laptop, your own computer. That's even better because you know your equipment. Okay, so you know your slides work, and you've got the right connectors, even though the rooms are very well equipped at ARU, so you'll find probably everything you need. But I would always say, if you've got your own HDMI cable, just bring it just in case. If you've got your own VGA cable, bring it in case. If you are using slides, you might want to have a clicker, okay, to allow you to advance and go back and forth through the slides. They're quite cost effective, £20-ish from Amazon. Again, we can make them available for you, but that's using equipment on campus. If you want to bring your own stuff, then you want to use a clicker, then you might want to invest in one of those. It makes for a much swifter, much more professional presentation, rather than going, hold on, let me just run over to the keyboard and press the next key or the arrow key, or shouting to somebody, next slide, no, not that one, back one, forward one. So having the ability to control the slides with a clicker is great. And actually, little tip for you, you can, for those that other products and services probably work here, but if you're on Apple, you can use an iWatch to flick through the slides, or an iPhone. You can pair your iPhone to your laptop, and you could use that to go through your slides as well. A couple of other little things, again, if you're using different presentations. Now, when we talk about PowerPoint, when we're talking about slides, in the professional world, we call them a slide deck, or in this case, you're going to call them a pitch deck, okay, because they're non-generic in the respect, it doesn't matter if it's PowerPoint, Keynote, or Canva, or whatever other tool you are using. But if you are going to be kind of bringing your slides with you, bear in mind your version of PowerPoint, your version of Keynote, your version of whatever software you're using could be different to what's loaded on that local computer if it's not your equipment. Okay, so do bear that in mind. That's one of the benefits of using your own equipment. You know the slides work and they load in and how they look. Sometimes you can load them into another computer, slightly different version. Font hasn't got the same fonts loaded in. Okay, then all of a sudden what the font you selected changes to another generic font style and it looks different, and it can resize it and everything kind of goes a bit skew-if. So that's one of the benefits of using your own equipment. And if you're not using your own equipment, just keep the fonts to a standard font. Don't go off and go and download a font and expect it to be on the computer you put your equipment on. A couple of last things on the presentation tools that you might be using. Don't rely on them. For example, I'm sure we won't have a problem, but what if you banking on those slides working and on the day, your computer or the computer in the room or the projector, or there's no power because there's a power cut and you can't do your presentation because you've got no slides. To me, as a judge, and I'm not judging by the way, but I'm just speaking on behalf of our esteemed judges, they don't care. You're there to pitch your idea. And if you can't pitch it, your chance is gone, most probably. You probably won't get that opportunity again. So be prepared, maybe have some printouts with you. So if the slides don't work for whatever reason, you can use them as a kind of a leading note. You can look at the slide printouts, at least as kind of speaker notes to keep you on track. Please, 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 I ask, if you possibly can, don't use notes. put enough effort, put enough time to plan, prepare and practice that you don't need to stand up there and have your notes in front of you like this, because that's not going to really help us to, again, judges, to engage. You reading from a script or a book or a notepad, we want to listen, watch you, your body language, how you interact, how you present. So if you can, don't have notes. You can have some notes on the desk, okay, like maybe some bullet point cards or something like that that you can refer back to, but try to speak freely. But you've got the structure, you know what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, and how you're going to say it as well. So if you can get away with not using notes, it's going to be a big advantage. They're a distraction for you, and they're a distraction for your audience as well. And in this case, that audience is your judges. Bear in mind evidence, things that you say as well. We are going to want to see some facts, figures and numbers, or at least hear about those facts, figures and numbers in your presentation. How did you reach that? Please don't overestimate. Sometimes we see ideas and they come along and say, well, by this time next year, I'm going to be a millionaire because I've sold £10 million worth. And they haven't even got the products prototyped or launched or anything like that. You've got to be realistic. You want real investment, make sure what you're sharing, those facts, figures and numbers are accurate, and you can evidence them, i.e. you can demonstrate that actually it is very possible that I can reach this, okay? And that may be not a great lover of graphs, but sometimes a graph on a slide could possibly show how that output would happen and work. So evidence is good, okay? Whether it is the numbers or evidence around your product, some people say this is the only idea like this in the world. No one else has got anything like it. Is that true? Is that your real unique selling points? Because I beg to differ. I think everything out there now has competition. So you might want to evidence your competition, show who your competition is. There's no harm in having competition. What that does mean that there's opportunity. So sometimes showing who your competition is can demonstrate there is real opportunity. How big is that market space? Is it local? Is it national? Is it international? So think about that as well. Don't want to tell me that the market's worth 60 billion on a global basis without being able to evidence it or prove it. And also I'd like to know how much of that 60 billion market realistically you could get hold of. Might be just 0.001%, which might still be enough to intrigue an investor. Storytelling, I kind of mentioned at the beginning as an opening effect, but do think about how you can tell a story or two in your pitch, because we want authenticity, we want a little bit of empathy, we want to really kind of understand how this idea is going to solve a problem. And sometimes you need to kind of tell us a story. You need to showcase what has happened to get you to this point to come up with this idea. In some cases, it might be something that you were involved with personally, something that you've seen, a friend, a family. It might be that you were out one day in the shopping centre, sitting there having a coffee, watching the world go by, and you heard someone talk about it as they went past. You thought, wow, there's my opportunity. So it's always good to put it into context, how you come up with the idea, and then how it's going to benefit the buyer, the user. Okay, so storytelling is powerful. Why? We can all visualize that story that you're telling. We can empathize with that story that you're sharing. So for me, use a story or two, but make sure they're relevant and they don't need to be long. This is not Jack and Ori, so we're not telling long stories. It might be that story is just 30 seconds, maybe a minute long as well. Don't forget a big one here. At some point, how much are you looking for? How much money do you need to launch or take your idea to the next level? Because I appreciate there might be some ideas that are being pitched that could be a trading company already. They might not be an idea, they might be a business. And what you're looking for is more investment to help you develop your idea, whatever that looks like. So how much money do you need? Maybe from the outset to take the idea, to get it prototyped, take your prototype to market, to, you know, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe let's say you've got a product or a service, you want to expand upon it into new verticals that currently you're not working within. So how much do you need? But the next thing you must do, please justify why you need it. No point saying, I want £5,000, and then in the Q&A session that comes up afterward, the judge says, well, great, you've asked for 5,000, what are you going to spend it on? Haven't thought about that yet. that's not going to get you your £5,000 or less. So you need to really kind of think about how you spend that money. Don't break it down into pounds and pennies or dollars and cents or euros and cents. Okay, just keep it quite lump sum. So I'm looking for £5,000, and out of £5,000, my idea would be to spend £2,000 on prototyping, £1,000 on marketing, £1,000 on developing the idea further, whatever that might look like. So don't make it overly complex. Okay, we're not looking for spreadsheet stuff up on the screen. We're just looking for kind of round figures and solid use of that money that you're requesting. My advice to you also would be not for you for your salaries or wages. No one's going to invest in the company to pay you. That's your job, to finance your own livelihood, to bring an income in until such point the business, the idea is self-sustaining and it can pay you. Okay, so please don't say, oh, I'm looking for £5,000 and that's going to fund me for the next 5 months at £1,000 a month, because I really don't think, I'm pretty confident you can get any investment from that. Okay, so I've covered quite a bit there. There's probably going to be some stuff I haven't covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a breath and ask if anyone's got any questions, or if anyone would like to add anything as well. So kind of we can open it up now to the floor. So for questions and for anyone can add any additional ideas and things that need to be thought about. Don't all shout at once or put your hand up at once. Oh, there we go. A question come in. Yes, unmute yourself and ask away. You can just unmute yourself and then you can ask your question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now, perfect.
Oh, sorry. Basically, I just wanted to know if we were successful and got an investment, would it be for sharing the company or business?
Good point. We will give you a little bit of strategic lead on this when the time is right. So the way it will work is that all judges are going to be different. Okay, you've probably seen Dragon's Den and how that works. They will kind of, you'll be asking for a value of money. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to go back to that £5,000. You might be saying, I'm looking for £5,000 worth of investments. Now, no judge is going to give you that and say, thank you very much, go on, off you go, spend it however you will. I'm such a nice person. They are very nice, so they could do that, but it's very unlikely. What they're going to be looking for is a way to invest into your business. So here's £5,000, and I want, and I'm just using an example, I would like 10% of your business, or I'd like 20% of your business, or possibly 50%. That's a negotiation that will happen afterwards. So what we are going to do, unlike Dragon's Den, we're not going to put pressure on you or the judges in the room at the time of your pitch. So let me just run through what happened. You'll come in, you'll deliver your pitch. I will be there, so I'm going to be there to introduce you to the judges and the judges to you, and just make sure everything runs smoothly. You will then come up, just introduce yourself, so that's not part of your pitch, and then you'll go into your pitch only when you're ready. You'll deliver your 10 minutes, or maximum of, remember, and at that point, you'll get a huge round of applause from the judges, and we'll go into a Q&A session. So at that point, the judges can ask questions. They've got 10 minutes, a maximum of 10 minutes to ask questions. Now, after that point, the judges could say, look, I really love your idea. This is a really investable idea. But we're not going to ask the judges to say, I'll invest, like Dragon's Den do. I'll give you £5,000 and the negotiations start in an open room. Why? One, it puts pressure on you to make a decision which you're not possibly ready to make. And it puts pressure on the judges to start making offers. What we want is to build some rapport and relationship. Plus, we're going to be limited on time. And that negotiation period is not going to happen in 3 or 4 minutes. So we're going to encourage the judges to come and meet you during the tea and coffee breaks, potentially over lunch, whether if you're pre-lunch or post-lunch, and then have a conversation with you, learn more, find out more, connect with you. And then the follow-up could happen maybe on the day, it could happen thereafter. You could be really lucky. And one of the judges loves your idea and says, look, I want to invest in this now. makes a suggested investment. And the reason I use the word suggested, because it's not legally binding. You're not interviewing, I like the idea of that. I'm really up for that. You're not kind of signing your life away that day. You're better go off and think about it. The judges go off and think about it. And we will help link that relationship stronger together. Okay, so what we want to be able to do is measure all the outputs and outcomes from this. So what judges invest into what ideas and how that transpires and keeps moving forwards as well. So we're there to support you on that journey. But that'll be a negotiation. And most of you won't have a valuation for your business because it's going to be a complete startup idea. So it's going to be how much is the judge willing to put in and what risk do they deem fair to take some shareholding out of your business. But they will want something. They're not doing it for love. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I should put my glasses on. Is it Susan in that segment? It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Susan.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
So if you have sort of other people working with you, would they have to start off voluntary? You know, you'd have to talk to people and say, like, if you're going to be doing something, so there wouldn't be enough money to start with, you'd have to work with your colleagues voluntary. Not like I wouldn't definitely not want any, you know, money. It would be voluntary for me till the business got going, what I want to do. But other people, I'd sort of have to say it's like a voluntary position until.
It's a really good question, and I suppose it does come down to who these people are and what stake they have. Are they just going to be? I'm going to use the word kind of crudely. Are they going to be just staff workers? i.e. bringing them in to get stuff done? And would they? Is their expectation they would get paid for that? Because in some cases you might need people to scale your team. So in that case, that they might not want to do it for free. So you might have to come up with a way of remunerating them, or maybe getting them on board for a short period of time, volunteering, something like that. And volunteering loosely, maybe you kind of get them on board and you say, look, if this all plans out the way I'm hoping it to plan out, then I'll kind of carefully word this with them. I'll backdate and give you some money for the great efforts that you've done. If they're going to be part of the team, okay, so they're joining and they're going to have an interest in the business, so like a stake in the business. So let's say you own 100% shares, but two more people join you and you give them 25% each, so now they've got an interest in the business. Then I think, they're going to be kind of almost expected to work for free until such time the business is running. Not one size fits all here, to be really, really clear. You could have a set of judges and say, look, I'm not going to be paying myself. But to make this work, I'm going to have a shop. I need people to work in the shop, retail outlet. I need, a couple of staff, and they're going to need to be paid. So out of your investments, and allow me to pay these staff something to get the business off the ground. So let's say not one size fits all, but I think if they are part of the management team or part of the team that build, i.e. the founders or the co-founders, then you'd probably be expected to put your blood, sweat and tears in for nothing.
Thank you.
We've got a question in the chat from Nicole. She says, what shall we add to the application form? Proof, size of opportunity, or just a summary of the idea?
So the application form, I don't have it in front of me. I did see Christina here somewhere. I don't have a copy in front of me, but it's what you need to do. I think you've got 250 words, if I remember rightly, when we put it together about a month ago, something like that. It's just got into the chat. So in that application form, I think we've been reasonably specific, asking you to what we do require. Try and stick to what that requirement is on that form. But personally, for me, it's like an executive summary. What is your idea? What problems did it solve, and how's it going to change the world? That, to me, is kind of the important part you need to cover. Absolutely, if you can add some evidence alongside that, because that's what it's asking for. So size of market, the value of that market space, as I said earlier, 60 billion worldwide. Well, that doesn't really tell me anything, because how much of that am I really going to be able to capture as a startup business? Such a small percentage. So in real terms, what is it worth? So I think, again, you've got to be very realistic. There will be lots of opportunity to explore this further, either in your pitch itself or in the Q&A afterwards. And that's where I'm going to use the word, you'll get drilled a little bit more for information. That's where the judges are going to probably want to dive down and kind of say to you, look, talk to me about these numbers. How did you get to this? And that's where you've got to be prepared to be able to support that information and talk about it in a face-to-face environment. So yeah, get whatever you can into the application form, but make sure it's relevant and it answers the questions that have been asked of you. Any more questions? Yes, Gary.
David, I wonder if it'd be helpful just to kind of outline what it's going to be like on a day. I know you've talked about it, but I think some people have, heard about the big pitch previously, which was done in the big auditorium. And this is a much more kind of real life pitching kind of experience. And it might be just worth sharing the differences. You're not going to have a big crowd watching you. This is very much a relationship between you and the potential investors. You're there, David, to make sure that everyone behaves, but this is actually a much more professional, real life kind of scenario. I wonder if we might just want to capture that for our students.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Gary. Yeah, and it's a really good point because people will get a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious, thinking I'm going to be standing in an auditorium, there's going to be 500 people looking down at me. That's not the case. Unlike the big pitch, there is going to be very limited people in the room. There'll be the judges, myself, and there'll be some other people helping run, including Catherine, potentially Gary, and stuff like that, who will be there, Christina, Onkar, be there supporting and helping. So the judges are the ones that you're sharing and talking to. There could be one or two others in there, but it's going to be very, very small. The room is much, much smaller. It's not a big theatre style either, so that's something else. So that way you don't need to shout to reach the back of the room or anything like that. On the day, we'll bring you in. We're introducing to the judges, as I said, you'll get a chance to introduce yourself to the judges. That's not part of your pitch. There's going to be no one there, not that anyone would anyway, but no one there to heckle, because people always get worried that someone's going to shout from the back of the room. None of that, because there's no one there to heckle. And there's no TV stations, no cameras. There might be the odd photo or something like that, but more from a PR side of things for the university, but also you can have a copy of those. It's good for you, for your social media, for your idea. So what you're really doing is you're talking to those judges. It's a conversation, is the way I'd like to think about it. Yes, you are pitching, okay, but rather than having a room of people where you're presenting, you're pitching your idea in a conversational way, a way that judges can understand it, interpret it, and hopefully invest into it as well. So it's much, much smaller scale. Not too many people that are going to be putting you off. We're all there to support you, and I will welcome you as part of the team, but the rest of the team will do exactly the same. We'll answer any questions, we'll make you feel comfortable, we'll get you prepped. There's also going to have a green room, and what I mean by that, there's going to be another room you can go in, get prepared, sit back, go through your presentation, listen to some music if that's what works for you. It's different for everybody. Okay, sit there, drink water, drink coffee, chill out until it's your time to pitch. You will have an allocated slot. So this will happen on all campus sites. There'll be a timetable given to you in advance, so you know what time you're pitching. You're not expected to be there all day, but we would expect you to be there, and I would probably suggest you get there an hour before. Okay, so if you've got a 10 o'clock, and let's say the first one is at 10 o'clock, I'm not quite sure what time we do start, but if we say the first one's 10 o'clock, we're going to be all there from 9 anyway. I'd suggest you get there at 9, just so you're not running in, like me this evening, with your bag and you're up next, and oh my God, it's all panic station. So get there as early as possible. Once you've done your pitch, I would suggest you stick around for a little while, wait for a tea or a coffee break or the lunch break, because then you can meet the judges and have a further conversation with them outside of that room itself, in a space that's a bit more comfortable. Maybe at that point, that's where conversation starts to unfold. But once you've done that, you're welcome to stay. We'd love you to stay, of course, but after that, you might then want to go. And of course, if you're in the afternoon, you're on after lunch, and it's 2 o'clock, you might not turn up to lunchtime. But again, think about it strategically. Get there during lunchtime when the judges are there eating lunch, because then you get to have a chat with them before you go and pitch to them. So think about it from a strategic point of view. What's the best time to be there? Let's say you don't get many chances at these type of opportunities. So if you're one of the, I'm going to say lucky, that's not right. If you're one of the chosen ones and you're there pitching your idea, make the most of it. Anything you want to add on to that, Gary? Did I cover that?
No, I think that's fine. I wanted to kind of make sure that anyone coming along and as I getting through to that stage understands that this is very much about your business idea, your relationship with the judges, and you putting that across. It's not about assessment. It's not about an academic. This is very much getting you ready. Hopefully, in some cases, securing support from real businesses and real investors. So you need to approach it very much like that rather than an assessment. And I think you've kind of outlined that previously, but I just wanted to kind of make sure that anyone kind of entering understands that as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions in the chat. First one from Nicole. Do we know from which industries the judges will be?
We have an array of judges, but we will let you know in advance who those judges will be on the panel. A couple of reasons. One, you'll get to know them by names. You'll see who they are. Secondly, by company. Thirdly, look them up on LinkedIn. They'll love it. Find out a little bit more about them. It's good if you know about them because you can shape your pitch or your presentation maybe to be more relevant to them as well. So the answer is you will know, but today we don't know exactly what judges are going to be at what campus sites.
Question from Omkar. Will the pitching be live, telecasted for friends and family to watch online, or just within the room?
Great question, Omkar. I think, and we haven't really discussed this, I would say on this occasion that we keep it closed. And then going forward, on the success of this, you see I used a positive word, on the success, because it's going to be successful, maybe next time we could look at maybe the live streaming side. But I think coming away from like the big pitch, which was lots of people could tune in and watch from anywhere in the world, I think we keep this quite intimate and just in the room on this occasion, unless anyone decides otherwise.
Okay, got a question from Andrea. Thank you, Andrea.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to know, is there a time frame or even estimated on when we will know if we have a successful application?
Yes, and I can't remember what that
I know,
time
so the deadline is midday on the 1st and we'll let everybody know by the 6th.
Yeah. So by the 6th of March, you will be notified whether you've got through to those campus finals.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments, or feedback? We're always open to ideas, by the way. If someone says, oh, have you thought about that? We might not have done, so we could include it possibly. This is quite a fluid competition. We want to make it exciting. We want to make it, fun for you to be part of, fun for the judges to be participating in as well. And hopefully the outcome is that we manage to match judges to start-up ideas and see some real investment taking place. So always happy for feedback or comments as well.
I've got a quick suggestion. Maybe you could run a sort of practice session where, I don't know through what channel, like LinkedIn or something like that, and people could practice their pitches with each other, maybe?
Yes, I think we're going to be quite time poor, and it's a really good suggestion, having maybe somewhere that people could practice. Possibly we could set something up, maybe on a Teams channel or something like that. I think it would be logistically at this stage quite challenging to set it up on a campus by campus basis. Something we could certainly consider for future pitching competition ideas. But maybe, and I use the words maybe loosely here, we could set up on a Teams where you could go along, meet other pitchers and pitch to each other, possibly, or share your ideas and have a chat about it. So kind of build out a community. It might be something we have got kind of a community anyway under the entrepreneurs community. So maybe we could fit something in there. So, but thank you. Yeah, no, we'll definitely take on board and see what we can do. I won't make any promises this time round, but certainly next time it's something we could feed in.
Yeah, can I just jump in there, David? I think that if we could do something by teams for the people the week before leading into, that would be good. I think it's a bit tougher for the group that's in London because there's a very short space of time between. But a very short space. If we've got availability, and another thing is to kind of just reassure all the students that they're not competing against each other. This is not a competition against each other. This is about you securing support and investment. So it's not a case of there's one winner, but there isn't one winner. It could be 8 winners, it could be 0 winners. So Catherine and maybe we can have a look at that and see if what could be possible. Maybe set something up if people want to come along, but it would be available to the people pitching the week before or something like that. But that's a really good suggestion. I think we should try and make it happen if we can.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Gary. You're not competing against each other. So help each other, support each other, give feedback if you do get the opportunity to see someone else's pitch, because you're all in it together, and actually your ideas shared could really be supportive and helpful for everybody. Another question?
So we've got another one. If the application is successful, will I get help from any university teams to create an ideal finance plan for the business to provide at pitching?
I can probably cover this slightly, but then Gary, you might want to add to this, or Catherine. So yes, I think is simply the answer. We will give you what help and support we can. We do have mentors within the university, one being myself, but we have James Barlow, which actually, when you talk about finance, James is in a far better, stronger position. He's an accountant, a CFO, so he can certainly provide support there as well. But there's many others. And of course, any of the resources that are here in the university, that's what I'm going to throw to Gary, I'm sure will be happy to support to make things better to help your investment grow.
Yeah, I'm quite. We have the team, we have the area team that would be very happy to help. I think the key thing here is that we're not looking for a whole set of accounts. We're looking for kind of key summary information, whether that be your selling point, your customer, what you like to be your customer base, what your kind of key costs are going to be, and how that's going to impact on your kind of surplus deficit over a period of time. So I would encourage you to keep it simple for the day. You're not going to have time to go through very detailed cash flow and balance sheets and profit and losses. So I think if I was one of the judges, I'd be looking to just be reassured that someone's got a grip on and understands what the finances are and more importantly the realism of those finances.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, the investors are aware of the situation. They're investing into potentially an idea, okay, not a full-blown company that's trading and generating large incomes and stuff like that. So it could be the investors are the ones that mentor you, help you, develop your business plan, work on your finances with you. So the investment is not, there will be cash, that's the whole idea. There's a cash investment opportunity here, but the investment is also the people. How great is it you've got someone that's run successful businesses that comes along and invests some money, but invests them or their team, because they might have businesses with people, into your business. So this is the important one. It's not just about the money. The money is part of the whole opportunity. The people and the resources that you can get from this could also be huge as well. You're going to hopefully you'll get a bit of everything. That's the opportunity here.
No more questions. Andrea, you've got your hand up. Is that an old hand, or have you got a new question?
Sorry, no, that was from before.
Good. Okay. Brilliant. So I don't see any more questions, no more raised hands. So hopefully that's been useful. Hopefully it's kind of put some more meat onto the bones about what this competition looks like, the benefits of it, how it's going to operate. We are being quite fluid in this, as I said. This is a pilot programme, and what I mean by pilot is that we are open to ideas and ways that we can make it bigger and better in the future. We're not going to be perfect. We're human. We might not get everything right on the day. There might be a few little snags. You won't notice them. That's the difference. We will. But we will work with you. So if you've got anything you want to feed back to us, then please do so. Feed that back to the area team, and we can look at how we can include that. But hopefully that's been useful. If you do got any other questions as well, you've forgotten about them now, they come to light after this, then do drop an email over and we can get back to you on that as well. I think that's it. So thank you everybody for joining. Pleasure to see so many here.